If anyone recognizes, yeah, I don't know. Yo no say way. All right. And now for the last show, The Genetic Detective. And this one is probably the most different in the sense of that, this one is talking specifically about crime cases as opposed to all the other ones are family history stuff. Well, I guess, a lot of them are very different. So The Genetic Detective is a show that is about Cece Moore, and I think it's like 5 episodes, each episode talking about a different case that she worked on, and it goes into a lot of the genealogy work that she did behind it, the story of the case, and then the follow-up, from Cece's investigative lead to then the law enforcement officers taking the investigation further and getting surreptitious samples or whatever they needed and confirming whoever it was, and then the full sort of story of it. And this one, I think you can actually watch on Hulu. If you have Hulu, apparently you can watch it for free on ABC. Maybe it's not on Hulu anymore. Let's see. Yeah, watch it on ABC for free. I guess it was an ABC show. So six episodes. Do that. All right. So I thought that it was actually a really good show. This show came out while I was working as an investigative genealogist. So for me, it was kind of like, that's what happens. But kind of like most, true crime shows, it was just really fun to see, the full process of it all. Because every case is slightly unique in how things go down. And so there was a lot of really interesting stuff. And for me, I think the most interesting thing to see of The Genetic Detective is what law enforcement does after the investigative lead. Because like from my perspective, when I worked in investigative genetic genealogy, once we've gotten the lead ready, and sometimes it's, we've gotten a really good lead where we're like, here you go. You've got this very short list of people that we are extremely confident it's one of them. And then they go and investigate, and usually they can kind of figure that out pretty quickly. Sometimes it's more along the lines of, okay, we've gotten a step closer with these different things. Now we need to investigate further, and we'll do what's known as target testing. So we'll send law enforcement out to basically be like, okay, we're pretty sure it's somewhere within this family tree, but if you can go out to these relatives and ask them to target test, hopefully that will give us a better idea of how whoever we're looking for is connected into that tree. So whether it be us identifying a doe or, unknown human remains, or us identifying a violent perpetrator or a perpetrator of a violent crime. And so once we've given that investigative lead, whether it's super close or, somewhat distant, it varies on how those agencies continue in keeping us up to date. Sometimes it'll be months later, and then we get a call that, we did this, and it's solved. And it's like, whoa. Other times they work along with us the entire way. But more often than not, even if they do work along with us, giving us information, it's only tidbits here and there because, they're working along. It doesn't make sense for them every step of the way. We did this. Okay, we did this. We did this. So it's fun watching that show in the sense of seeing them take the lead and really going with it. And, when they get the suspects and interviewing them and all of that. So for me, that's the part that I enjoyed most out of that show. And, I thought that it was presented in a really good way. It was presented in a really intriguing way. It's been a while since I've seen it. I saw it all when it came out. And then after that, I don't think I've seen it since. So I only saw one watch through. But I remember that I really enjoyed the visualization that they did with the family trees and understanding clustering and things like that. And especially, I think there was one case where there was like a double cousins case thing where basically, when you're doing this type of work, you're looking for a marriage between two families. ways. So, if you have genetic cluster over here and a genetic cluster over here, and you find a marriage between a member of this cluster and this cluster, that means that you're very likely going to find the person you're looking for as a descendant of that marriage, because only the people that descend from that marriage have those cousins A and cousin B, unless they have something weird going on, such as double cousinship. So double cousinship being, let's say you have a pair of sisters, you have a pair of brothers. They're not related to each other, a pair of brothers from family A, pair of sisters from family B. One brother marries one of the sisters, the other brother marries the other sister. So their children from both couples will have the same cousins on both sides because they're related. They're first cousins on both sides. So when that's the case, that can throw things off. And I believe that was what happened in one of the cases. Was they thought they had a really good lead, and so they did further target testing, but then the target testing didn't match up with what they thought. And so then it's like, what's going on here? And then they discovered the next marriage. And yeah, so really, really interesting. So I think I'm going to put the Genetic Detective as S tier. Yeah. So with that, that's pretty much, that's obviously everything that we had, but there were a few shows that people had mentioned. Of course, and I've lost all of them except one that I hadn't really heard about, that I'm definitely going to look into. So this was one of them, DNA Family Secrets, which seems to be a UK-based show. That most recent episode came out in 2022. So, or wait, no, was that the most recent episode? What's the most recent episode? Why am I missing? Did they not list the episodes? Okay. Oh. Gosh, I guess they do have a lot of recent episodes. So, okay, so it's an ongoing show. I'll have to look into it, especially if it's a UK-based show. Yeah, hear other people tell me shows. Yeah, James Burton says, as much as I love Who Do You Think You Are and Finding Your Roots, The Genetic Detective may be my favorite. Loved it. Yeah, and it's kind of a shame that that Cece doesn't want to do further episodes of it. Funny enough, I remember when I first learned that Cece was basically, saying she was not going to do further episodes. I was like, I might be interested in being the genetic detectives and have another season. And, that'd be kind of a cool precedent to set for that show, where they have every season, they focus on a different investigative genetic genealogist and their cases. Because each company does things slightly different in their, how they handle things. And, especially with some companies like the one that I worked at, DNA Labs International, having a lab and us actually taking stuff in and doing the extractions and working on new technologies. There's a lot each company could give. And I think it'd be really cool to kind of every season, different genealogists that they highlight. So, I'd love to see that. I'm not an investigative genetic genealogist anymore, but I have enough cases under my belt that I could certainly do a full, 5-6 episode season of cases I've worked. That, yeah. So I would love to do that. Yeah. If anyone's watching that knows the producers of Genetic Detective, tell them to hit me up.